read you your guide to getting food on Humanities 205. Where you sit in the lounge is crucial because you got everybody there. You got your historiographers, your epistemologists, your ethicists, your textual studiers, cultural studiers, visual culturalists, the best people you will ever meet, and the worst.
Wait, can you just run through it one more time?
Fine, but listen up because I'm only doing this once. Okay, so the epistemologists sit at the biggest table and they're basically the class know-it-alls. Bernecker is the worst of all. He's always trying to tell people that they don't know what they think they know. Like when he told Maddie from 105 that Calvin's prom proposal was a Gettier problem. I mean, he did ask her to prom, but not because he liked her like she thought. It was actually because 10 girls turned him down first. It's all in the justification, as he says. I heard once that Baudrillard made a girl cry because he called her pumpkin spice latte a simulation. He's always trying to make negation of reality happen. It's not going to happen, okay? And Foucault is kind of a trendsetter. He came up with the concept of discourse, which basically means that we do things because some power source, like a social norm or an authority figure, makes it inherently okay. Fashion trends and popularity are discourses. That's why when I saw Foucault wearing army pants and flip-flops, I bought army pants and flip-flops. Gold and Latour are good friends. Both guys are always talking about binaries, like two diametrically opposed fields of thought. Both claim that we know things by taxonomic distinctions, like how we know jocks apart from nerds. Haraway is kind of the free thinker of the group. She's the only girl, and she lets the boys know it. She calls them out because they see everything from an unmarked perspective as men. Sometimes she sits under the table, or looks down at the ground, to show that all knowledge is situated dependent on where the body is. The ethicists sit at the next table. They're all total overachievers. They're all in the Honors Council, so they get to decide what's right and what's wrong within a particular set of rules. The actions are called content, and the rules are called systems. Swift is the laziest one of the bunch. He assumes that everyone already knows the rules of 205 and responds with sarcasm to everyone's problems. I heard he has a burn book where he just makes fun of everything, but that's just a rumor. Sartre tries to get people to live their lives meaningfully because he says that we're not born with a God-given purpose. He's never cheated on a test, not once. Total goody-good. Something about morality happens by choosing to be moral, or, essence comes after existence. I don't really know. Apaya is the president of the Multicultural Club and on the Varsity Science Olympics team. He has all these theories about how evolution doesn't necessarily explain all of our behaviors. He tries to get everyone to understand each other and our differences. Yesterday, he told me that even though the popular girls think it's right to wear pink on Wednesdays, that other people might reject that moral code, so I can definitely wear black on Wednesdays if I want. The historiographers, as you can probably imagine, are totally caught up in the past. Marx and Fukuyama are real frenemies. Both believe in a grand narrative in which everything can be accounted for in one term, but they're total backstabbers when it comes to the end of history. They're always arguing about whether the battle in history is between classes or ideas, and whether it'll all end with global democracy or the end of class structure. Such drama queens. The girls, Scott and Oyama, have their own ideas. Scott is all about girl power. She proposes that history be better told via gender dynamics. Oyama always talks in metaphors for whatever reason, and she says that history and evolutionary biology are the same thing, and that we're active participants in natural selection. She's always clashing with teachers over classroom decor because she claims that our learning environment affects the knowledge that we choose to retain, and then we, in turn, affect our environment. She calls it something like a developmental system or something like that. I don't know, girl's crazy. Then there are the textual studiers. These guys are such bookworms you'll probably never hear a peep from that table. Don't worry though, there's plenty of drama still going on there. Saussure is a total genius. He came up with ways to determine the relationship between a sound and what it actually means. The signifier is the sound or image, and the signified is what idea that sound or image evokes. He's so good at telling what gossip is true and what's not, just by the words people choose to use. Just like gossip creates warring parties, signifiers and signified create binaries. Strauss is always sucking up to Saussure. He uses Saussure's linguistic theory, applied to myth, to refute the idea of a binary by bringing up linear relation between the two, linked by a concept in the middle. The middle implies that the thinker moves between two opposed poles, without going anywhere new. And while those two are palling around, Barth just watches Breyer and Scalia go at it all day over his definitions of work and text. Barth kind of hates Saussure's concept of binaries, but don't tell Saussure that I said that. He thinks that they fall apart because he says literature can be either a work with predetermined meaning or a text with endless meaning and an endless chain of signifiers. Never, ever, ever study with him because he makes reading homework so confusing. The visual culturalists are kind of just two dudes. They do their own thing, but they're pretty cool. Preziosi and Panofsky, they're the artsy ones. But, I mean, again, don't say I said this, they totally hate each other. Panofsky is all about intention. He's always getting in trouble for doodling in class and then mouthing off to the teacher about how the doodles have aesthetic value separate from his notes in the paper. He's always spouting off about how art creates order out of mess, and it works together with the sciences to form a cosmos of nature. Preziosi kind of disagrees. He'd never say so to Panofsky's face, though. He sees art for its functionality. He thinks art is like a delegate for a nation. The way it's arranged in a museum dictates how a nation is perceived, and how much power it has. Kind of how things are arranged in a textbook. Some concepts hold more importance, so they're first, and longer chapters have more power, because they make you more tired when you read them. We're almost done, I promise. The last table are the cultural studiers. These are just two guys, Adorno and Ferguson. Basically, Adorno believes that the way school is, with all the different cliques and social stratas, creates a culture. He and Marx, back at that other table, are at odds. Because while Marx thinks that culture is secondary to economy, Adorno thinks that ideas are the basis for cultural growth. He's against standardization and just wants to, bake a cake full of rainbows and butterflies so we can all eat it and be happy. And, embrace our differences. Stuff like that. Ferguson is a bit more pessimistic. He says just because culture appears to be integrated, in reality, the minority population is just adapted to a consumer market that thrives on targeting a specific population. That theory kind of reminds me of, remember when that girl came here from Africa and her friends integrated her into the popular group only to take them down? Those popular girls never knew what hit them. Should have read Ferguson. And don't get any ideas.